And from those of you that kind of have an idea of what we're doing with our talks and with our messages, you know that in this week, we're talking about a few different things. On Thursday, we're going to talk about the will of life, and we're going to talk about how to create abundance in all areas of your life, your business, your relationships, spiritually, financially, in your health and your fitness and everything. But for this specific call, what we're going to focus the most on is how to recognize, understand, and sell to the 4 different customer types. Just give me a thumbs up if any of you are familiar with what those 4 customer types are. 0, sort of on Sawyer. This is gold. So this is all new information, which is extremely exciting. This is something to give you guys a little background that I've been implementing since the end of 2000 and had a huge basically driver to my success for 2019. Allowed me to double my sales in 2019 from using this type of understanding and being able to tailor my pitches and understand who I'm selling to better than they do sometimes. So I want to talk about what those 4 customer types are and go through these with you guys. The first one that I'm going to talk about, and this is going to be interactive as always, so I'll ask you guys a few questions, those of you that feel like being leaders and being vocal this morning. I want to ask you a few different questions as we go through these, just to help you understand and help the rest of the group understand. The first customer type, so the 4 go by the acronym B.O.L.T, B-O-L-T. So for those of you taking notes and on the recording later that are taking notes now, the way to start this is B.O.L.T, B-O-L-T. And the first customer type begins that letter B, and that is a bull. So another acronym for that, or another word to describe the bull, is the driver. Just like a car driver. So if we think about the bull, I'm going to go a few of their traits, and then I'm going to ask you guys a couple questions. So here's how we understand. These are people, these are clients of ours that are straight to the point. They get to the bottom line, possibly even saying things like, hey, get to the point, get to the bottom line. They're very quick to decide. They're very quick to make a decision, yes or no, this or that. Very fast paced, very prompt. They're a very neat type of messy. They are very results oriented, so they focus on the results. They need to have control over a situation, or at least need to feel that they have control over a situation. Prestige and status are very important to them. So job title, how much money they make, their appearance. They love challenges. This comes first, social second. So business first, social second. And they're very outspoken. So I want you guys to think about some potential people or clients that you have that are like a bull, who are probably fit into this customer profile type. One that comes to mind is our phenomenal division manager, Ben Jackson. Ben Jackson is a bull. He's a bull if there ever was a bull. He's very, very driven. He's very promptly. He needs to have his control over the situation to be able to other people. Very results and goal driven and results oriented. Sees the best in us, encourages us to perform at our best, doesn't accept our excuses, challenges those excuses, is not afraid, doesn't shy back from those. In all ways that I know Ben's a bull. I think his secondary trait is the next one that I'm going to cover, and we'll get to that in just a second. So when I think about selling to a bull, if I think about having, let's say, our wonderful division manager as our client, if we were doing the appointment for him, you guys could probably imagine that Ben would not care as much about the fluff, right? He wouldn't need to know every single aspect or every single detail about everything to make a decision. He would be like, hey, get to the point. Tell me the bottom line. What are the real reasons people do this? Tell me how the warranty works. Stick and move, because I really value my time and I've got 25 other meetings today. So get to the point, right? So when I think about this, with selling to a bull, how do we tailor our presentation to sell to a bull? Let me open it up. I'm curious to know from some of you guys, what are some ways, knowing and understanding how a bull is, what do you think are some ways that we can really tailor our appointments to sell and close a bull? Maybe just give me like a thumbs up or something to let me know to unmute you. Okay. It's Savannah.
You mentioned that they care a lot about like prestige and status. So
Mm,
you could bring that into the demo a lot, talking about how it's the highest quality, talking about you can even like name drop if you already have a few of their friends that have it, because then they'll feel left out. So play that.
beautiful. Beautiful. Absolutely. So basically she's mentioning using the social proof, and hey, if my exclusive circle has Cutco, I don't want to be left out, because how would that make me look? Right? I want to have this too. Matter of fact, I'm even open to getting a better version of this set or this type of product than what my friends got, because it gives me an edge. It gives me a little more status. So very good point. What are a couple other things that you guys may think about when you think about the fast pace, the results oriented, cutting out the fluff? What are some other things that you can do or not do that you may do with other client types? So you're here. Okay.
Right. You said that they need to feel like they're in control. Just ask like good questions to make them make it feel like you're not asking questions to make you feel in control. But I mean, you're still in control, but ask questions to make them feel like they're getting the set that they need, like the one that works just for them.
Absolutely. Beautiful. So basically what Sawyer's saying is we still ask questions, but it's not questions that make us seem to be in control, although at the end of the day, we are in control of our presentation, but we're basically empowering the client to make the best decision for them. So asking a very direct question is very good with a bull, because that's how they operate. So you stay in rapport with them. They typically run their business or run their life like doing the same thing, asking very direct questions, getting very straightforward answers. So when a bull will ask you a question about the presentation, or they'll ask you a question about the product, it's not giving them a roundabout answer. It's getting like straight to the point. So why do you guys use the material we you guys use for the handle? Oh, very simple. It's the strongest material, it's the best, and it's able to be dishwasher safe. Also, it doesn't chip, crack, or break, right? So it's not like, well, the company, we want to design this material that would feel really ergonomic. They don't care about that. They don't give a shit. Like, why did you use this type of plastic? Why do you use this type of steel? Why is 440 steel better than carbon or stainless? Why couldn't I just go buy knives at Target? Okay, absolutely you could. You could go buy 100 sets from Target for the rest of your life, but at the end of the day, it's going to provide the same result and not get you any closer to the goals that you have. With us, when you're able to invest in us, you do it one time, you have the best material, the best product backed by the best warranty available, and you never have to do this again, which really gets you closer to that result of providing the best set for your family. And you notice my body language too. It's not all smiley. It's not my typical Justin bubble, right? It's pretty direct, but that's what they freaking thrive on. They love that directness. They don't need to care about like all the lovey-dovey as much with a bull. Anything else that you guys can think of, things that you could do to tailor your appointments or do or not do to stay in more rapport and close a bull? Something else that comes up for me, and most of you that got my got my power intro and actually looked at that, as you see, the first thing I do is tell them I appreciate their time and I'm not going to do as much of the presentation. I'm just going to get straight to it. Bulls freaking love that, because some of the bulls may book book the appointments with you because they feel guilty, or they felt like, well, my friend did, I'm going to at least listen to them. But at the end of the day, they don't want to hear the full spiel. They don't need to know or have a desire to know every single aspect of what you're doing. So when we can set the appointment, letting them know, hey, thank you so much for your time. I know you're very busy. I know you have 100 other things to do. So I definitely appreciate it. Hey, if it's cool with you, Sawyer, I'm not even going to do the presentation. I'm just going to get to the stuff. Basically, just get right to the meat and potatoes. Is that cool? Perfect. Boom. We're in rapport now, because you're like, all right, this dude understands me. No matter what type of customer we have in front of us, they need and want to be understood. Do realize that the more that you guys are able to uncover and recognize which of these 4 customer types, you're going to learn how to tailor your appointments to them. You're going to you're going to get to that deeper level of rapport that we've talked about the past few calls, knowing that, hey, if I feel like this person that's selling me something understands me, maybe they understand that I have 100 other things to do, straight to the point, or maybe they understand I'm the opposite. I'm the guy that's got nothing to do today, and I want to know every single aspect of everything. I want to know how the steel is broken down and what percentage of manganese and chromium and iron are in there, right? That leads us to our next customer type. Before I go to that, I want you guys to think about a few of the careers that your bulls may have, because this is one of those easy ways. It's not a surefire way of saying that, hey, this person's probably a bull, but it does give you a higher chance of knowing. Here's who I think about: business owners, anyone in any type of high-powered leadership position, a CEO, a manager, oftentimes is going to be a bull. Sales professionals, a lot of sales professionals are bulls. People in the mortgage insurance, realtors, mortgage insurance backed careers, people that are very driven, entrepreneurs, are typical bulls. Now, every customer is going to have a secondary trait. We'll get to that in a minute. We're talking now about selling and recognizing that dominant trait. You know, Ben's not just a bull. Ben has a secondary trait. And really probably Ben's actually, knowing him very well, has these traits, which makes him a very powerful leader. But most of you have had some appointment or some client that was basically like, hey, get to the point, right? So if you go back and actually think about them, think about, what did he do? Oh, he owned a landscaping company. Or what did she do? Oh, she was the top realtor in her area. Okay, like, that's how their mind works. They're very driven. So let's stick and move, because I want to hit all 4 types here in the hour. The next is me. So this is an owl. So the O in B.O.L.T stands for owl. The secondary name for this, for those that like to resonate both, is the analyst or the analytical. So what are some details and some traits of the owl customer type? One is they like the detail. They want the full explanation from me. They take their time to decide, slow paced. So they don't decide quickly. They like to think about things. They like it to make logical sense. They are still very time conscious and are typically early to appointments, to meetings, to calls. They have a very low tolerance for mistakes, either our own, speaking from an owl, or someone else's. So they don't like mistakes. We like things to be perfect. In a way, we could be called perfectionist. Typically are not overexcited or very emotional. They value security. It's a very key point. They value security over prestige and status. So security is more important than prestige and status. They're very ordered. So they like things neat. They like things orderly. Oftentimes, these are more of your introverted clients, people that just are energized by being alone. They prefer to. However, there's still business first, social second. So I want you guys to think about that. Now, by the way, the reason we use these, the animal, I think why this helps too, is it gives you like a visual representation. If we just called it the driver or the analyst, you can take notes on it and you can uncover it. But I want you to think about the bull. Back to the bull, for example. Think about the strength and the power of a bull. Think about being in the bull ring, right? For me, being able to paint a picture for you. Think of just the magnitude and the aura of a bull, and that should give you some connection back to the details of what a bull is, how to sell to them, how to relate to them. And then we think about the owl. One of the we think about what is it, Winnie the Pooh. The owl and Winnie the Pooh. For any of you that know that, or you've heard the phrase, wise as an owl. The reason an owl is wise is because they want to know everything about everything. They want to know all the details. Okay, so curious to know for you guys, knowing a few of the things that make an owl, how would we sell or tailor our presentations to an owl? Someone that hasn't spoken this morning. Curious to know. Okay, Miss Avery.
They probably want to know every single detail about everything. Their presentation is probably going to take a lot longer than per se the goal, because you have to do all of the fluff, because they're going to a lot longer deciding, and in order to get them to a decision that night, you do have to upsell them on, okay, but you get to try it out in your home for 15 days, and these are all of the details, and this is why you should have it. Yeah. And like really sell to the side of them that is emotional, but they don't have a super emotional side, but just enough to where they feel like, okay, I feel good enough making this decision. It makes enough sense logically.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So you just hit a very huge thing. Logic is still higher than emotion with most owls. So every customer is going to have a point of buying Cutco. And we talked about that in an earlier call of how to sell both off the logic and the emotion. But when we recognize the customer types, we have to realize that the owl is probably the least emotional buyer in amongst the 4 customer types, so that we can really smear the proof of logic. What that could mean for some things that come up for me is I would break the numbers down to where they really made sense. That might mean even showing them the cost of buying cheap knives every 2 to 3 years over 50 years, right? So let's say that they just bought a $200 set every 3 years for the next 60 years, okay? Like I would do the math and show them, hey, you're going to spend $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 counting inflation to keep buying things that you really don't like, that's not very valuable, that get thrown in the garage or thrown away when they're done. Or you have the option of spending the money up front one time. It's this much, so it's a third of the cost, but it is the highest quality, like I mentioned. And that's where I'm going to go into the details of what thermoresin is, right? So little fun fact for you guys. We know thermoresin. For your very analytical, science-minded people in your life or as your clients, the actual material is an acetyl copolymer. Fun fact that very few people even know, but the science guy wanted to know that, right? So it's an acetyl copolymer, right? If you can mention in-depth things like that, if you can mention the 440 alpha steel, some of your clients may even want to know how that steel is broken up. You can find that on Just the Facts. There's a document called Just the Facts on Vector Connect, which I can help you guys find if you're not sure about that. Okay, so that's going to be a little bit about the owl. They want to know everything. You want to be very methodical and detailed through the process. So here, one of the differences is with the fluff, you still want to be able to go in depth about like everything in the presentation. The fluff that you might want to cut out, that some of you may be very good at doing now, is the emotional stuff of like tying them into your scholarship and tying them in relationally to who you are. And so it's not that you want to eliminate that, because that's valuable with every client. It's just if you go super lovey-dovey or it's like super connectional, it's going to be out of rapport with them, because they're very methodical in their relationships too. They're going to typically be the people in time to warm up to them, or they're going to take their time to warm up to you. So you want to still build trust as always. You still want to share your goals as always, but you want to be very methodical and detailed about the sales process. You want to break down the payment options and explain how that works. You want to look at the long term. This is the customer that's going to want a few more names and uses of every piece in the set that they're getting, right? So some of you guys have heard me speak. You don't have to do a full blown out names and uses of the ultimate set, right? Like you can categorize it into 3 or 4 or 5 categories. Like these are for vegetables. Well, the owl is going to be like, yeah, what do I do with that butcher knife? Okay, and then what makes that different than a boning knife? Or why do I need a chef knife, a vegetable knife, and a Santoku? Right? They're the persons like they have to logically say, why do I need 3 choppers? Why am I going to use 3 choppers? The other thing about an owl that's very important is it's very important when you're selling to them to show them both sides of the coin, right? Show them, hey, this is what it's going to be like to not own Cutco. It's basically like we mentioned, you're going to have cheap knives that you're going to have to pay someone to sharpen or struggle to sharpen yourself. You're going to have to throw them away. You're going to have to go back to a store or even Amazon, something you've never seen, felt, or used. You're going to have to keep doing this over and over again forever. And buying cheaper stuff and having to throw it away that's dispensable costs the most amount of money long term. Versus on our side of the coin, explain the features and benefits and the value of buying Cutco, right? So when someone like me can logically say, damn, okay, this is how I've been doing it. That sucks. I didn't really do my research. Here we go. This makes sense financially, logically. We do cook a lot. We do have a couple kids here, so we are preparing more meals. We are probably going to use knives at least 5 times a week. That's like 250 times a year over 50 years. Okay, that's a lot of uses. So really my cost per use isn't that much. Man, this really makes sense. And that's how we think. Like I actually think about things weird. I'm like, what's the cost to own it per use, right? That's a very owl trait to that the other 3 types are just like, we're not thinking about that. Like I'm the customer that would want to see, okay, if I buy an ultimate set for let's say 3,000 and I use it for 60 years, but I do use knives 250 times a year, I'm going to make whatever that number is. Let me see. Really curious to know, as the owl, 60 years times 250 times per year is 15,000 times. So I'm going to take 3,000 divided by 15,000. I get 0.2. So basically it's like, cool, it's 0.2 cents for me to use this every day. I'm gonna do it, right? That makes sense for me. I'm not gonna have to buy this again. Oh, and I'm not gonna have to, I get to eliminate all the cost of sharpening. No one else has to do that for me. You guys are taking care of that. So I'm the one that wants to know what really is covered under the warranty. I wanna know, hey, does the 15 days just 15 consecutive days? Or is that 15 business days? Just for you guys to know, it is 15 business days. It's 3 full weeks. It's not 15 consecutive days, which would be a day, right? I'm the guy that wants to know that. So if we can recognize us, you know how to sell to them. So what are some careers, curious to hear from you guys, that you think and would be very fitting for an owl? Okay, Avery again.
Engineers. My dad's an
Engineer.
engineer.
Beautiful. That's a gold one. Engineer. What else? Think about the really mathematically and very science-minded people you know. Matt.
Accountants.
Yes. Accountant. Perfect. Accountants. Scientists, like people that work in a lab, actually work in a chem lab. People that like biologists, chemists. What else?
Would lawyers fit into this category?
Lawyer to me is going to be more of a tiger or potentially a bull. Yeah, probably a bull, possibly a tiger though when we get to that one. So other few things that I can think about for an owl. So people in science, people that do data crunching, data analysts, and actuary, careers that typically don't involve a lot of people. I'm kind of like the norm for an owl, truthfully, like to be in sales, have a chemistry degree and be among that introverted, but still, in sales. That's a pretty rare transition. Brandon Brown, who's one of my mentors and the top sales rep in Cutco, is actually an owl as well. So it's kind of cool. It doesn't, it's not a determinant, but I think about people that do a lot with math, a lot with science, careers that are in solitude, or just any type of career that's extremely detail oriented. I would say, Savannah, that a lawyer would probably have an owlery trait, very potential for that to be a very strong secondary trait as well. So here's why this is cool to know though, is when you guys are getting recommendations and you're qualifying those and you're getting information about Miss Jones's friends, if you ask a few things, like you can't really ask, hey, where does he or she fit in the B.O.L.T spectrum, right? But what do they do for work? What do they value the most? Like if you understand a little bit going into it, you can go into your presentation knowing, hey, I'm getting ready to speak to a business owner. All right, how do I sell to a bull again? And you can take a few minutes and actually review these notes and start prepping for it. And just like anything in Cutco or anything in life, the more you guys do this and practice it and execute it, the easier it becomes. When I work, haven't done these in this year with everything going on, but when we work trade shows, I can see someone approaching the booth, and I've been so intentional about this now, I can spot which one of the 4 customer types is coming up to me by the way they look, by the way they dress, by the way they stand, by the way they walk. Now, it's not always within 60 seconds, really within a minute of speaking to them, I know what customer type I'm about to sell to. So that's very valuable, is now I can go straight in rapport with this person, knowing, hey, this is exactly what this person needs and wants to make a decision. This is the person that's going to need to know every detail. This is a person that doesn't give a shit about details. They're like, hey, we're coming over here. Our knives suck. We need some knives. Go. That's the bull. Or, hey, tell me about these knives. What type of steel do you guys use? Boom. That's an instant owl, right? So you guys can continue to learn and practice this, and you'll get so good at this that within 60 seconds of, being in front of your clients, you're going to know exactly who you're talking to. So those are a few things about an owl. Let's continue on. Now to the L. So we may think it's a lion. It's actually not. The L is a lamb. L-A-M-B, a lamb, who is very amiable. So some things about selling to a lamb, or things to recognize about a lamb. We need to be their friend. Be their friend first. We need to give direction, and we need to show support. All right. Anytime I'm going through these, think about how this actually can be animal. Because if you can make that connection, you're able to quickly start putting those connections together and realize, okay, these are all the things about a lamb. If I think about a lamb out in the field, right? If we're super excited or super bold, we're going to scare the lamb away. It's the same thing with our customers. right? We need to be their friend. We need to be gentle. We need to give guidance, give direction, and show support. These type of customers are slow to decide, like an owl. But here's a key difference. They often change their minds, right? So this is the customer that struggles deciding between classic or pearl. This is the customer that struggles between, should I get the homemaker set or should I get the signature set? They struggle with that. So they need our guidance in helping them determine the most sense for them. They're very slow paced. Here's something very cool about a limb though. They understand your mistakes, but they feel terrible about theirs. So if they make some type of mistake, it's very important for us to put them at ease and make them feel okay with that. It's okay. But they're very understanding of yours. These clients are actually very emotional. The emotion with selling to a customer like this isn't your super excited emotion. It's going to be that trust, that compassion, that love type emotion that makes them feel very secure, which gets me to the next point. Security is extremely important. Prestige and status are almost non-existent. It's all about being secure and being safe. These are the customers that want to avoid conflict. They don't like to ruffle the feathers, aka they even hate saying no. Now, this can be good for us in sales in that, sometimes we're able to bully our way through to this client, but this is the customer that would even go as far as to say, yes, let's do it if they were pushed, and then wait for it to get there, and then they would return it and never talk to you or let you know, which sucks. That's not what we want. This is the customer that wants protection and wants peace. It's very social first, though, and business second. So that's a big distinguishment between the other profile types who are very business first, social second. The lamb is social first, then business second. So when we're building rapport with them at the beginning of our appointments, if they feel comfortable with us, they feel that they can trust us, they feel like they can relate to us, they feel that we have their best interest in mind from the beginning of our appointments, they tend to put their guard down and will trust us through the sales process now. They're very agreeable. So one thing that's key to look out for is, I know most of you guys have been taught and have either heard of other leaders in the division or in our company about asking those yes questions, like basically, hey, Ms. Jones, do you ever cut tomatoes or fruits? Yes. Okay, then you would use a trimmer, right? So like asking questions that almost guarantee you a yes. Well, with the lamb, it's very careful. We have to be very careful, is they'll just say yes to almost anything. They'll agree with you about anything because they want to avoid conflict that much. So what I find that really helps me when I'm selling to them is I'll go through and ask those same questions, but then I'll say, hey, Ms. Jones, and tell me if you'd never use this, because I would really like to know. It's okay if you wouldn't, by the way. Okay, yeah, but you definitely do cut some tomatoes, you definitely cut limes, and you guys do some fruits with the family. Perfect. So sometimes I'll ask a second, more in-depth question that lets them know that, hey, you can tell me if something's wrong or if you don't like something, but I do it in a very trustworthy way. Otherwise, you guys will, in my younger years, I would close these lambs and I would hard close. And I'm like, dude, she was into it. She said yes to every single thing. She was just got to the end, she's like, okay, let's do it. And she would just return it. And then for my calls or texts, and I never really understood why until I reflected back and I thought, man, I didn't actually ever really hear that customer. She was actually just avoiding conflict and wanted to avoid telling me no so much because she was going to feel really uncomfortable that she was going to say yes, pay for it, and then return it later. So not really what we want though, right? That doesn't move us closer to our goals. That doesn't help the customer. That's still a lose-lose. So I learned with my lamb customers to really take my time, to really focus on trust and building that relationship, and to go a little bit slower, right? With the bull, it's just like, hey, time is of the essence, dude. Get to it. With the lamb, it's like, hey, I just want to be very secure in my decision. I want to make sure my husband's okay with it. Like, it's that customer that's very like not outspoken, speaks really quietly. Yeah, so I don't know. And they're like a little fidgety, right? They're like, I don't know if we would use everything in the homemaker. Hey, that's okay. That's okay if you wouldn't use everything. Is it okay if I showed you a small set that may fit you and your family better, but still has almost everything in the homemaker set? And you can hear how I talk to them. If I try to talk to a bull this way, they're going to be like, what the is up with this dude? With the bull, I'm like, yeah, dude, definitely get it, man. You're probably not going to use a couple of these, or a couple of these knives you're just going to use so rarely. It just definitely doesn't show you a smaller set that I think is going to fit you better. That's the difference of a bull versus a lamb, right? It's a little quicker. It's a little more bold in tonality and in speed. And it's very direct in, hey, you're right. You wouldn't do this. Let me show you another option. Whereas with the lamb, it's, hey, no, I definitely understand that. And I do understand it's a big decision. And I want to make sure that you aren't just buying it just to help me out. I want to make sure that you know you're really investing in something with your family that they're going to love forever. So, Miss Jones, it's okay if there's a couple in there you wouldn't use. Is it cool if I showed you an option that may be a better fit for you and really help you accomplish your goal and get the best set for your family? Cool. Let me show you what I was thinking. Right? Can you guys hear the difference there? Can you hear it and sort of feel the difference when you're selling to a different customer type like that? Cool. So here's a few ways on how to sell to the lamb, and then we're going to finish with the tiger here. We want to build a lot of rapport and trust. If there's ever a relationship that you do a demo or a virtual service call, whatever it is with the client, building rapport and trust with the lamb is crucial. If there's no rapport, you're not going to sell anything. They're just going to be like closed off to it. They don't care about you or trust you or think you care about them or trust them. Forget it. It's not going to happen. Don't appear to be in a hurry. So typically the lambs are slow paced. So if you're using things like, if you're like checking your watch, lambs are going to pick up on that. It's like, oh, do you need to go? Oh, I don't want to hold you up. I don't want to hold you up. I don't think I want to get anything. You're going to scare the lamb away, right? So don't appear to be in a hurry. Make statements for them that emphasize the importance of doing this for them and their family. So really focus on that you're doing this for your family. Like, this is for the greater good of your household and your family. And also something else that's very important, this will work with all customer types, is using specific words that emphasize the dominant traits of this personality. So here's what I mean. Lamb. Remember how I slowed down so that this really resonated with you guys, that power pause that I've taught you all so well? About the value of security. Okay, so a lamb, whether they recognize it or not, they value security over prestige. Okay, so when I'm selling to a lamb, I'm going to actually use the words safe, safety, secure, and security when I'm selling. So, Ms. Jones, you can feel safe knowing that if anything happens to your set for the next forever, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, you can feel secure knowing that if anything happens, we're going to fix or replace that for free during that time. This is advanced stuff here. So please take a note of this. You're not going to hear this from very many people in Cutco or in sales in general. This is next level, is using dominant traits of their personality, customer profile type to smear the proof, right? Using words such as safe and secure for a lamb makes them feel safe and secure. And when they feel safe and secure in you, in the company, and in the product, and in the option that they're looking at, they're going to make a buying decision. They feel safe. Hey, there's no harm here. This is actually a very good decision. Thumbs up if that makes sense. Let's backtrack just a second. I'm curious to know for you guys, what are some words that we can use with the bull that would stay in rapport with them and help them along the buying decision? Okay, Savannah.
Definitely will be using the phrase straight to the point. Like, I'm just going to get right to it. I'm not going to do the whole presentation. I just want to show you like the actual, we'll just get straight to the actual stuff. But before I do so.
Yep.
But
Perfect. That's terrific. So straight to the point, mentioning that type of phrase, cut the fluff. Hey Sawyer, is it cool if I cut the fluff and get straight to it? Perfect, right? Cut the fluff is a good one. Straight to the point. Hey, I respect your time. Hey, to be most efficient with our time. Efficiency is a very good word to use. Anything else? They love goals, right? So the bull is still very goal oriented. They're like many of us, right? We have goals for this month. We have goals for this campaign. We have goals for our life, right? So using the actual term goal. Hey, Mr. Jones, I'm actually curious, what's your end goal for the kitchen? Is it to have stuff that you have to replace, or is it to have the best you could just be done with and forget about? Cool. Can I show you how Cutco helps you meet that goal? Perfect. It's pretty simple, right? So we speak the words that already resonate with that client. Now with an owl, curious about this for you guys, and then we'll finish with the tiger. Tiger is one of my favorites, by the way. But words that are in strong rapport that can be used for the owl. What do you guys think? This is a person that was very detail focused, slow pace, take their time, very time conscious, don't like mistakes. Hint, hint. Mistakes, still value security over prestige and status. Like everything being orderly. What are some phrases that we can use? Someone I haven't heard from this morning. Miss Madeline.
Someone that is very like orderly and just kind of like organize the knives and uses and talk about these are the meat knives, these are the vegetable knife chopping, and kind of be really distinct about each thing because they want to know like this is for what, because they probably would be the overthinkers and over analyze everything.
Perfect. That's terrific. So basically slowing down and making a strong emphasis on this knife is what you'll use for meat and cooked meat. This knife is what you'll use for vegetable chopping, i.e. carrots, cucumbers. This is a customer I'm going to actually go a little bit slower with. Chopping carrots, cucumbers, onions, bell peppers, right? Versus selling to a bull, it's like, yeah, this is what does all your chopping. So I mean, carrots, cucumbers, peppers, onions, all your vegetables. Moving from that, right? You guys see the kind of the difference there. The owl needs a little bit, they want to process it. It's not that they're dumb. They're actually some of your smarter clients, but they need to actually process it and form that connection. Okay. So this makes sense. I'm going to literally, because they're thinking of like how they're actually going to use it. Okay. So they can see in their head, this is what I'm going to use to chop all these things. This is what I'm going to use to carve cooked meats. Okay. Perfect. What are some other just powerful phrases that would be valuable for the owl? So we don't like mistakes. I paused on, I said, I emphasized that one, hoping somebody would pick up on it. They definitely don't like the mistake term. Okay. So, and then Savannah made a comment here that I'll read out. So with mistakes is basically you can feel confident that you can't make a mistake when investing in Cutco because we've been the #1 brand in the US for close to 50 years. We're the only brand that is backed by a forever guarantee. So it's hard to make a mistake when you know when you invest in us, if anything ever happens, we're going to fix it or replace it for free. Mr. Jones, I think the biggest mistake that customers make is when they don't invest in Cutco, when they invest in German or Japanese, or really worse, they invest in cheaper knives that they have to replace over and over and over again. Right? So you feel that word mistake, that's a few different ways you can use it. You're not going to make a mistake in investing in Cutco. The real mistake comes from showing the other side of that coin when you invest in other brands that aren't made here, that aren't of the same quality, that do not have the same warranty. And then they can realize, okay, yeah, I get it. This isn't a mistake, right? So that's one. Same thing with the time, though. They're very slow to take their time. So this is the opposite end of the spectrum for a bull, where it's like, hey, I appreciate your time. I want to get right to it. I'll basically say with an L, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I definitely appreciate your time. So thank you guys for having me today and being able to carve out some time in your schedule. I just want to let you know that I'm going to take my time and go through our presentation, actually show you everything about Cutco. If there's anything that you would like some more clarity on as I'm going through, please just let me know. Sometimes I do tend to go pretty fast, but we go straight from A to Z, and I'll show you guys everything about us and what we're doing here. Okay, an owl is going to appreciate that. They're going to be like, okay, he's not going to cut out anything. He has a process. Remember, we're very methodical, so we want to go from A to Z in a process, A to B to C to Z to D, so forth. We don't want to just skip from to Z. We want to go through the freaking process, whether we know it or not. But let them know it's not going to take all day. But if there is any questions that you have, please feel confident and comfortable asking me those so I can answer them. Because here's the deal. What do we know about owls? They're inquisitive. They're going to have a lot of questions. So if I want to be in rapport with an owl, what I'm going to do is mention that, hey, any questions you have along the way, please feel comfortable and confident that, okay, perfect. Because now what does that do? That makes me I imagine hearing one of you guys say that to me. That makes me feel freaking great because I'm like, cool, like they're not going to be standoffish or they're going to know their shit. So if I ask them a question, they're actually going to have the answer to it. If I feel that the sales representative that's selling me something knows every question that I have and they have a strong answer to that and they can help me make it make sense, I'm going to buy from them. If someone can logically sell me something like that, like I'm going to buy. If I can just throw out, well, hey, what's it matter? Why did you guys decide to do that instead of this? Why did you go that route instead of this? What makes you different from the German knives? And you have a powerful, right? I'm going to be like, okay, like they know they're it. And this logically makes sense. I'm going to buy it if I can afford it. Right. So there's a few things for you. I hope you took some notes on that. If not, go back and listen to that. Last customer type for our last 8 minutes here. This is one of the most fun ones, by the way. So this is your tiger. This is the T in the B.O.L.T acronym. This is your tiger. Another term for them is very expressive. So here's a few things about your tigers. They're not into details. They don't care. They're very quick to decide. They're messy. So we talked about like the customer type eater earlier, kind of messy. Tigers just don't give a shit. They're messy. They're very fast paced. Most of the time they're late. Hey, we're in 15 minutes late, but I'll be on. That's your tiger. Love recognition. Love it. Love the emotion. Love the excitement. They see you cut the penny with the scissors and they freak out about it. They love that. Prestige and status is very much bigger than security. Very, very much. We love, these clients love a challenge, right? These are the clients that when you share that your record for recommendations is 50, these are the people that are going to do their damnedest to beat that record and for them to be the one that gave you the most referrals. These are the ones that could potentially, if they're financially in the position, feel the same way about the size of your order. It shows the most that I've ever sold for is 17,562. So if we can beat that today, you're going to be on my leaderboard forever, right? Social relationships, extremely important. They want to feel some vibes from you. They want to feel the good vibes. You have to feel connected to these people. Here's how we recognize a tiger. They're very talkative. These are the clients that just talk your ear off, and they don't stop. They're very social. They're very high energy. Another term would be flamboyant, and they love attention. They love it. They love when the spotlight's on them. Okay, this is a person at a party that's the center of attention. The person that's like standing on the bar dancing, like everybody's like cheering for them and they're doing shots like on the top of the bar, right? That's a tiger, 100%. So I like to think of a good example of a tiger that just always resonates with me is another division manager, but Brian Hurlman. Brian Hurlman's both a tiger and a bull, but damn it if he's not a tiger. Like he just has an aura and an energy, and he's just like passionate about it. When he speaks, he's like slapping his hands and he's just going. He's like, hell yeah, very overly emotional and excited. That's how you spot a tiger. So for some of you guys, you may have had clients, right, that already own Cutco, and they're the ones that are like, oh, we love Cutco. I've got like 3 of these spreaders and the trimmer. We've got 6 of them. We give them for gifts, and they're just like, da, 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 da. That's how you know you have a tiger in front of you. So how do we sell to a tiger? That's the question, right? A lot of times, this is the easiest customers to because they're already super excited about everything. They're super excited about the product. They love to talk. So we need to prepare to ask them questions about themselves. This is the customer that we want to get them talking about them. Ms. Jones, what do? What are some of your goals this year? Is it cool if I share with you some of my goals? I'd love to hear your perspective. They're the people that want to yapping, talk, and talk. And people love to talk about themselves. Any profile type loves to talk about themselves. The tigers basically write the definition of someone that loves to talk about themselves and what they've done, what they've accomplished, what they're looking to do. They love to do that. When I'm making a presentation and doing, no problem, bro. Have a good one. When we're talking about like, what do we do for a presentation with the client? Is if we're low energy, and this is what took me a lot of practice, because as most of you guys know, you barrel with me here, but I'm not the flamboyant guy. I'm not the guy that you wake up to at 8 a.m. that like gets you fired up out of your soul to get out of bed and do that. Never claim to be that guy. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that's pretty low energy, right? So when I sell to a tiger, I naturally have to tap into my energy, and I have to be a little bit more out of my profile type to overemphasize things. So it's like I've seen a penny cut by scissors, or personally cut a penny for 10 years. I mean, I've probably cut 20,000 pennies in half. I'm not that excited about it anymore. Just who I am. I'm not anymore. But when I'm doing it with the tiger for the first time, I did it for the first time. Like, check this out, Miss Jones, and I cut the pin in half, or I show the video. Okay, so here with the tiger, we want to build a ton of excitement and a ton of enthusiasm. This is the client that when you've heard through training or through any of the seminars that enthusiasm sells Cutco, enthusiasm like sells Cutco to the tiger for sure. But I will tell you, the next level is understanding that enthusiasm and overexcitement does the opposite to a lamb. It does the opposite. So some of you guys may have felt like, man, I've done the same exact presentation. I've been super excited. I've done all this, but some people just don't seem into it, right? thumbs up if any of you have had a customer that's felt that way. And it's like, my manager said like enthusiasm sells and I need to do that. And they're right. They are right. It sells to some of the profile types, but not all. Enthusiasm doesn't sell to a lamb. It actually turns them off. The lamb is the customer that's like, okay, this guy or girl is just like super excited and it's kind of annoying and it's making me feel a little tense and I feel like I just don't want to listen to this right now. Like these are the things that they're thinking in their head. Like, okay, they need to tone it down a notch. Why are they so excited about these knives? Is this fake? Something might seem off about this. That's how the lamb feels with excitement. With the tiger, they freaking love it. They're like, oh, this person's excited about life like I am. Go, 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 go. Give me some more. Like, tell me what else. Show me the leather cut. Like, let me see all these demos. Show me what you got. That's the customer. That's the tiger. Cool. So a few words to be able to implement with the tiger is, let's see, let's think about this. Fast to decide. So that's a very powerful trait. Loves the recognition. So we talked about that. Miss Jones is going to look, imagine what that complete set is going to look like in your kitchen and everybody's over for the dinner party. And everyone's, oh my God, look at Tammy's set. And they're using the knives and they're cutting through steaks like butter every single time. Imagine what that's going to be like. So that's the way that we're pulling their emotion in there, but we're also tapping into that prestige and status spot of imagine everyone talking about Tammy and her amazing set of knives. She has the best set that was ever made. And she didn't get the cheap set. She didn't get the small set. She got the big boy. Imagine that. And imagine how good the white looks. All of your other knives are black. The white looks beautiful. Show me your kitchen again. Oh my God, why did you guys decide to do the kitchen that way? Oh, and that's the type of things where we're going to ask a question and be like, well, we just love for this, 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 and this, right? So with a tiger, you almost have to be on your toes, which kind of makes sense for the animal type, right? You have to be on your toes and you have to be ready to go. Like when you start a presentation with the tiger, there's no slow paced anything. Like it's get to it, honey. Tell me I love this stuff. How much is it? Get to it. So if you try to slow down too much with the tiger and be like, well, so here's the price of other brands and here's what makes them this and this is why they're that. If you try to do with them what you do with an owl, you're going to lose them. So with the tiger, it's like, cool, Miss Jones, I'm going to get right to the price. Let me show you what our competitors cost just real quick. Is that okay? Cool. Perfect. So boom, I'm going to go to Wusthof. I'm going to go to Shun. I'm going to hit the highlights very quickly. Then I'm going to go to us and I'm going to close them. Whereas the owl need to say, yeah, so here's a few of our other competitors, right? Are you guys familiar with German knives or ever heard of German steel or familiar with Wusthof or Hinkels or the Japanese brand Shun, right? So we're still very slow and methodical. The tiger is very fast paced, very high energy, very ready to go. So that's what I have for you guys this morning. That's your 4 profile types: B.O.L.T, your bull, owl, lamb, and tiger, or your other names, which are driver, analyst, amiable, and expressive. And I hope you guys got some stuff. Just give me a thumbs up if this was good this morning. Curious to know. Here's the thing I'll tell you. I know we're after 9. You're not going to memorize all this stuff overnight, but here's what's really cool. If you do make an intentional hour a day for just a couple days to really look at this, you guys will have this, like you'll be able to recognize your customers. Some of you will be able to recognize them today. Like you're going to speak to people and you're going to have a customer in front of you and you're going to be like, man, I kind of feel like they're a lamb. I kind of feel like this guy's a bull, right? You're going to start to really, so keep tapping into this and keep furthering your learning. The more that you understand this, the more you're going to be able to tailor your pitches and your presentations to the better your results are going to be. So I would love to hear some of your top takeaways. I know we got a lot of information here. It's a couple questions. So owls need to visualize, have to leave early. Okay. What do we do if we meet with spouses and they're 2 different types? Perfect. Wife is a bull and husband's an owl. That is beautiful. So the reason that we want to learn and understand all of these types is that's going to happen. Very husband and wife to be the same. So the more you can understand individually, the more you're going to be able to tailor towards both. When you really in these, you're going to realize, hey, Miss Jones is a lamb, but the husband's a bull. So here's what we need to do. I need to still be efficient and engaging for him and let him know I'm going to cut out the fluff, but I'm still going to talk about building trust and relationship with Miss Jones and what it's going to be like to have Cutco and what it looks like long term and the follow-up process and the ongoing relationship. But with Mr. Jones, when I'm speaking to him, we're going straight to the meat potatoes. Like, here's what makes Cutco good. So the reality is this, guys, the presentation, the details of selling Cutco don't really ever change in terms of materials and the warranty. Like, that's all the same. What happens is just how we convey that. So when we do have different profile types, the more, if you can get really good at picking out who's who, you know when you're speaking to Mrs. Jones, what she needs to hear, and you can all do that in a way that Mr. Jones needs to hear that too, and they both can resonate with it. But that is sort of advanced. So the way to get to that level of understanding is learning how to recognize everyone now. And I would even say, if it was me when I first learned this, I was doing a lot of trade shows. So what I would do at the booth is, after I would finish a relationship with a client, is I would take like 30 seconds and think, hey, what was that client type? Did I really? Okay. And then I say, what made them this profile type? So if you really want to get good after your demos, I want you to stop and take a couple minutes and reflect, hey, what was this client's profile type? And what were some things that led me to believe that? You know, how did they speak about time? Did they speak quickly? What was their energy level like? What were their questions like? What were their statements like? And then think about, hey, I wonder what I could have done to have sold to them more effectively or quicker, right? So very good question. We'll continue to talk about that. This should be something that we talk about forever now. Something that I think our managers, and then I'm going to actually speak to our man about in like a advanced training for the sales representatives. I think this would be very key for them. But you guys are learning it way earlier than I did. So you have a lot more potential to implement this and do better than I've ever done in my career. I learned this 9 years into the business. You guys are learning it year 1, year 2, tops. So this is going to really help you understand how to sell to people and how to tailor everything you do towards those people. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for always showing up so effectively and ready to take notes. Again, I know I'm not the tiger. I'm not Mr. Flamboyant that's just going to bring this a massive amount of energy. And so I am a little slow and boring to hear sometimes. I do that, but I'm okay with that because I'm an owl. But thank you guys. If questions, blow me up on WhatsApp. I'll be happy to answer, and I would love to hear some takeaways from you. All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful day and wonderful week, and we'll talk Thursday. Bye-bye.